Those are sweet. Irish Fisherman's Stocking. Yes. Yes. Welcome to the Thread to MEND podcast. My name's Taylor and I'm coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland. And this is a podcast about all things fiber related. I mostly speak on the subjects of knitting and spinning. So if you are a new viewer, thank you so much for making it here. If you are a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. If you do like this video, please leave a comment below and connect with me here online. Also, liking and subscribing is always helpful. So I am recording this podcast now to upload on Christmas, just in case anyone else out there is not spending time with family on that particular day and has the time to watch. So this is going to be a slightly different episode because what I have to share with you today are the books that I picked up from Baltimore's book thing. And I thought it might just be interesting to listen to while you sit and knit. If you haven't been to the Baltimore book thing, it is a sort of like a warehouse of books that people donate, and people volunteer to work there and sort the books into categories. Everything there is free, so all you have to do is show up, take what you want, and then you sign out and you list the date, the number of books you're taking, and any comments you have. So it's a really neat resource for us here in the city. First one I grabbed is called Landscape Gardening. And I don't know why I grabbed any of these books, but they're all free. And if I don't want them, I take them back. This book, what I liked about this is it has kind of like the flowering shrubs and trees. I'm not an expert at these things, so it's nice to have like illustrated dictionaries. Here we have Better Home and Gardens, decorating ideas. I love design magazines and small books. I love orange furniture. And I think this is a wood carving cut out, and there's another one there. But that little key thing is cute. Anyway, I could just look through these little picture books like all day long. And sometimes I do, every time I'm purging my home, I guess. Yeah, so I think I might just keep this intact because it's so lovely and add it to my collection, but I would consider maybe cutting out a photo or two to frame for my wall. Sometimes I'll do that. Okay, this one is called New Living Spaces, putting up walls and ceilings, finishing attics and basements, dividing a big room, new windows and doors, how to tile a floor. It is published by Time Life Books, and it is the Home Repair and Improvement series. And I'm sure you've seen books like this before, but it's very similar to the previous book, where it is, I think I took this home just because I love the images of like vintage modern design. I don't think I ever would have ever done a modern design layout in my home when it was in the time that this book was published, but I would definitely take anything like that now, just for fun. This book was published in 1980. Oh, 1977. I guess it was reprinted in 1980. We have Ladies' Home Journal, Book of Interior Decoration. Now, I was stuck in this section for a little bit of time. Once you find one gem, you like want to find them all. I do appreciate that room divider. And also pom-poms on bedspreads. Oh, look! Here is a little Christmas scene. Do you see that spinning wheel? What a sweet image. I love that. Alright, well, that's enough time spent with Ladies Home Journal. Sweet kitchen. I love that rounded countertop. That's great. Here, sorry, try not to rush. I hope you have like tea or something. Oh, this book I got for my mother-in-law, I think. I don't know, maybe I'll keep it, I'm not sure. But it's called The Natural Formula, Book for Home and Yard, edited by Dan Wallace. Save money by making your own household agents. Create cosmetics, hygiene aids, and simple remedies from safe, natural ingredients. Discover how to make auto, workshop, and garden products and nutritious, convenient foods. Over 400 formulas in this complete home reference. I obviously paged through this briefly and just saw, you know, like calling for comfrey and such things. So I keep these books around. Herbal rinse for problem hair. 1 ounce of burdock root, 1 ounce of comfrey root, 1 ounce of rosemary leaves, and 1 ounce nettles. Mix herbs. Make an infusion with 1/2 ounce of herbs and 1 quart of water. Use as a final rinse or with other Castile soap flakes for your own shampoo. Sounds about right. Vinegar, conditioning for hair, lemon juice rinse, brightening rinse. Brightening rinse would be 1 or 2 teaspoons of chamomile brewed in a pint of water. That sounds nice. Every time I set a book down, I'm sure my camera shakes. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So I brought this book home as evidence of the patriarchy, and it happens to be published in my favorite little shape of book. So every time I find these ultra 70s illustration covered, hardcover, tiny books, I mean, look at the inside. Isn't that just beautiful? And it has a good, I mean, it's even on the cover here. And the back side. A celebration of women's role as wife, mother, and friend. I'm sure it's a good book. I don't even know if it's, I mean, everything's been touched by the patriarchy, right? But it also has like full color flowers. It is a Hallmark edition book, published in 1970. And it has more flowers. Waters are like people. They have different qualities. The ocean has a different character than a tranquil lake or a rollicking mountain stream. It is powerful, majestic, and often ominous. It roars of its power, ceaseless, eternal, heavy with ships and sails and secrets, dark with mystery. Its very feel and taste inspire your respect. It is strong with salt and often cold. It bites and slogs you and has a tingling sting. Mountain streams often have the same vigorous quality, a tangible strength, racing and tonicky. They boil and bounce noisily along, foaming over rocks, pitching down a precipice, confident of their own importance as they rush to join forces with river or sea. Then there are lazy, gentle little country creeks. They laugh and murmur and caress your wading feet. They are in no hurry, lovingly indolent things. Butterflies hover above them. Cows drowse in their muddy swallows. Minnows dart, frogs croak, gnats and little birds sing. There are differences between lakes as well. The Iowa Lake, in which I was raised, is big and noisy and seldom still. Storm Lake, the Indians christened its windy waters. It bashes and smashes and carries on, so I think it must be fancy itself, first cousin to the sea, though on a still night it can be regally placid, paved with a blazing silver path that leads straight to the moon. Its embrace is sometimes harsh, sometimes soft as velvet. It is a lake of many moods. The Virginia Lake, in which we have our summer cabin, is called Lake Jackson, near Manassas. It is man-made, formed by damming up two streams, Broad Run and Cedar Run. It is more like a wide but beautiful river, meandering some 10 miles through wooded hills and meadows. It has no illusions about itself. The roughest it ever gets is when a breeze ruffles its silver feathers or a speedboat cuts an impressive swath. It is like a gracious woman, modestly aware of her charms, the fish, the friendly people, the graceful weekend ballet of water skiers. Its waters are infinitely soft, silken soft. We wash our hair in them, and to plunge into them, whatever the weather, is to know a gentle melting, a liquid caress, soothing as sleep. I'm gonna enjoy this. I don't know if there's patriarchy in here. Complete Guide to Modern Knitting and Crocheting by Alice Carroll. Obviously, I picked this up because the cover is amazing. And it was published in 1942. Consultant on the American Red Cross Knitting Manual. This attractive suit represents the versatility of modern knitting, a far cry from the days when knit garments were intended to keep one warm, but not necessarily to be attractive. For directions on making the suit, please see page 283. That's interesting. It looks like it's part sewn and part knitted. Wow. Ooh, round toe pattern. I like the flat toe pattern myself, but I've never done a round tip. Maybe I'll like these instructions for instep shaping. Dutch heel, auto heel, French heel. Very cool. Definitely good reference pieces here. Ooh, found another object inside. This is from a 1992 summer march. There's movie listings here. Maryland Prime Meats. This is a piece of paper from the Baltimore Sun. And I'm not sure if they're saving Maryland Prime Meats locations or Wave of Lust showing on television. Anyway, sure it was just to, I'm absolutely sure that that piece of paper was ripped to save the Kitchener Stitch instructions. So I'm gonna keep it there. Striped slip over. Let's see if they give you any instructions on materials. 7 ounces of 3-ply wool, 1 ounce turquoise gray, blah, blah, blah. Size 34. So they give you just one size. So they provide instructions for one, and then you modify, I guess, to find your own. Width number 4 needles, 7 stitches and 9 rows in 1 inch. This is interesting. Okay, I probably wouldn't do contrast sleeves. Can you see that? There's this like puff sleeve to it. I did that. Also, this dress, I would say yes. That dress. I will knit that dress. I mean, maybe not really, because it's probably like waist weight yarn. Let's see here. 1-piece dress. It can't be 1 page of instructions. Okay, it is. This dress has 1 page of instructions. Materials: 30 ounces rayon and wool of 3-ply yarn, 1 pair number 3 standard needles, 1 yard bias binding to match, 1 buckle, and clip for trim. Interesting. I'm sure the pattern continues to be at least 2 pages long. Okay, this blouse is amazing. Fair Isle and squared neck. I'm not even sure how to say that word. The one on the left? No, the right. This one. That one. Maybe I'll knit a vintage pattern this year. Ooh. Bikini top, bathing suit. Yes, please. To give you instructions for the panties, is it the skirt or is it something else? Three-piece cape suit. If you want any of these patterns, message me on Ravelry. I will send you a photo of the page. I don't know if that's legal, but I got this book from the book thing, so whatever. Okay, I think I'll stop after the men's swimming trunks and just show you those, that those are a thing. I'm gonna make those. I have a needlepoint alphabet book in case I ever do needle pointing. I do appreciate a little how-to on needlepoint. You know, like where do you needlecraft, modern needlecraft, 75 cents, combined with needle and yarn. Okay, can we talk about this chair? That chair is everything. Who's home knitting? What? Me? Yes, it's me. The uncommon girl, independent and free to do my own thing, like making my own clothes. Yes, and when I do, I use Dawn yarn, for they know that I'm what I'm all about. The uncommon girl. We don't underestimate her. I do love these vintage magazines. They have good crochet. I love these embroidery kits. I would love that fancy chicken. Or the cheese and mice. Alright, let's find the knitting. Wait. Okay, the idea of knitting 2x2 rib in a sweater and leggings and a hat sounds exhausting, but I like the idea of being like head to toe in one thing. Also, that side button coat is pretty awesome. Wow. This is neat. A neat blouse. Oh, it's crochet. Crochet dress with lace borders. I like that the yoke is lace and the sleeves are lace. I would make maybe a sweater fashioned that way. Alright. Oh, there's a color work chart. Alright, that poncho is cool. I love that. Alright, almost done. Hand knit socks. I thought that patterns were too interesting to not take home. I'm not really a sock knitter yet, but these cable stockings here, those are sweet. Irish fisherman stocking. Yes. Yes. I have to make these to wear with my wool skirts, because what else am I going to wear with my wool skirts and stay warm? I could also do the Highland Fling knee socks, the Irish Fisherman knee socks, or the Highland Fling stockings. I'm gonna knit stockings. All right, let's talk about the yarn requirements for a pair of these stockings. Note, entire stocking and knee sock are worked with one strand of each color worked together. So they're marled, duh. 3 skeins each of colors A, B, and C. So 9 ounces of yarn for the socks and 12 ounces of yarn for the stockings. Knitting needles, 1 pair size 8, gauge, 5 stitches to the inch, 8 rows to the inch. I'm making these. I like the cuffs to these socks here, the colorwork cuffs. Those are sweet. Like roll down socks, yes. All right, here we have more color. Those are sweet. I don't think I'll ever knit fancy socks that aren't just colorwork or cables. Cool. This I brought home just for this image alone. How fun would it be to just cut that out and put it in a frame? That deserves to live forever in glory. Universal Yarn Finder. I haven't really looked at this. I just picked it up and I knew I needed it. So there's a lightweight yarns worked in small needles. It'll tell you the fiber content. This one is Argyle Cone Yarns, Estelle Designs and Sales Limited, 100% Jacob wool. So if you're looking for breed specific, maybe there's more than that. Looks like we're already looking at acrylic. Can it be that these are the only yarns that existed on the commercial market? This list. Angora, lamb's wool, and nylon. Anyway, the rest of the whole book is just categories of yarn and what they're made out of. I feel like this is just a useless object that functions as a relic of our times here on Earth with yarn. Okay, this is the first copy of Interweave Knits I've ever owned. This is a really interesting shoulder construction. Okay, this is sweet. I wouldn't make a round bag, but I would make that colorwork pattern. And I'd maybe extend it and finish it. Like just move this center pattern to the corners and reconstruct the corners, make it square. Maybe knit a little, maybe knit a colorwork pocket front or something. Or maybe knit a colorwork inside pocket. It's a secret. That'd be a thick pocket. Okay, interweave. Shaker design. Dear Eric, happy 46th birthday. This book was published in 1986. I think. Oh, I know why I took this book home. First of all, those samplers are sick. I would frame that. But there's a spinning wheel in this book. In fact, there's a ton of crafty wooden things. Like a tape loom from 1839. There's all kinds of fiber things in here. Table Swift, attributed to Thomas Damon, 1819 through 1880, Massachusetts, made of maple, elm, birch, red-orange stain, iron wire and rivets, orange cotton twine. A yarn wheel, spinning wheel, circa 1800 through 1820, New Lebanon, New York. For much of their history, the Shakers produced their own textiles, raising sheep for wool and growing flax for linen in most communities. Although the Shakers did not produce their own cotton, the communities in Kentucky raised silkworms for silk. Late in the 18th century and early in the 19th, the weavers were Shakers' brethren, following usual custom in America. By 1825, the work of weaving had shifted to the sisters. The Shakers in many communities made spinning wheels for their own use and for sale. This wool wheel, or great wheel, used for spinning wool, is made in New Lebanon, New York. The initials DM referred to David Meacham, Sr., of 1743 through 1826, the trustee in charge of sales of this and other products. His initials, like those of trustees in other Shaker communities, came to represent a kind of trademark. This wheel was made at a relatively early date, possibly before 1812, according to records from that year. The New Lebanon Shakers purchased a, quote, spinning jenny of 24 spindles and laid aside the, quote, great wheels. Characteristic of New Lebanon wool wheels is the usual tensioning system. Delicate wrought iron hook at the spindle end of the table may have been used to tie off the end of yarn when the sisters left her work. The wheel was acquired early in the 20th century from the New Lebanon Shakers by Edward Deming Andrews and Faith Andrews. Also, it's in pristine condition, of course. This is a simple little booklet, how to make corn husk dolls. Obviously, I really love the design to the kitchen area, and on the back, you have more scenes of whimsical goodness. I love miniature things. I don't make them or own them or buy them, but I like the idea of them. Look at this corn husk spinning wheel. That is awesome. Oh, goodness. There are just scenes of corn husk dolls. This one is pretty good. They all have their strengths. That one's pretty. Okay, last book. This is the Classic British Knits by Madeline Weston. "40 traditional patterns from England, Scotland, and Ireland." This book was published in 1986. Ooh, a bunch of Guernseys on there. Ooh. Shetland lace hat. Center panel knitted up from here. How much yarn does it take to knit this? 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 ounces. 6 colors. Okay, this is sweet. I would knit something like that maybe. Maybe I'd use up some of my Shetland wool. Knit a lacy garment. Some sheeps. Nice Aran sweater. This Aran sweater has a ton of bobbles. I bet that thing is heavy. I think I'm gonna knit a Guernsey this year. Why not? I'll tell you why not, because it's fiddly, mixing knits and pearls. Okay, this cardigan. That is cute. I like it. Here we go. Look at that. Let's see. Shetland 2-ply soft spun wool, thick and loosely twisted, equivalent in thickness to 2 strands of Shetland 2-ply jumper weight wool or fingering weight wool. The yarn is used double throughout, equivalent to 4 strands of 2-ply jumper weight wool. Interesting. All right, what are the needles? Size 10 and 11. 8 buttons. Wait, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it says 8 buttons in a 1 1/4 inch diameter and 2 buttons in a 1 inch diameter. Where are the 1 inch, are they the doubles or are they the, oh, it's the 2 up top. Man, I don't like doing double, maybe I do, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to be that, button band. 12 stitches and 18 rows, measure 4 inches over pattern. It's like 3 stitches to the inch. I'm gonna knit this sweater, like, before the end of the year. Probably not. Anyway, now we're in the kids section. All right, well, that was my Baltimore book thing unboxing. It was literally in a box. So I guess, you know, I'm gonna go get what I have to show you. The only thing I've been knitting is the body to a men's 42.5 inch men's sweater that I'm knitting for my brother-in-law for Christmas this year. And I just started knitting the first sleeve. So I have 1 week, because we're celebrating next weekend, to knit that whole sweater. So I'm about halfway done with the easy part. I've knit the whole easy part, and it's just knitting. This is Let Lopi yarn. It's the medium gray color, I believe, and I'm gonna do the, I'll put the name of the pattern here. I forget it. I've knit it like 3 times already. I'm gonna knit the yoke with just a single color, so it'll be maybe a little more masculine because it is a women's sweater pattern. The other thing I have to show you is the skein of yarn I just dropped on the floor. It is my first hand spun skein from this fleece, and it is a chain plied yarn. Oh, it smells so good. Like wash. It's so like stretchy. So I bought some yarn on sale Black Friday weekend, and I think I'm gonna knit a sweater. I wasn't originally planning to knit, but the sweater I bought the yarn for, I think I don't have the right yardage, so I might plan to knit the Willow Wood by Caitlin Hunter. Let's see, I have the yarn here. Is Abundant Earth Fibers Would-Be Island. 80% US Merino, 20% Rambouillet. It's a really light, kind of airy worsted weight yarn. 250 yards for 3.5 ounces, 100 grams. The skein of Abundant Earth's Joseph and Ani. So it's 360 yards per 100 grams. So if I hold it double, it might be thick. If I hold it single, it might be loose. I think I might hold it single for the color work, just so that the fabric along the arm is not double weight worsted. But I've actually never mixed weights in color work before, so yeah, that might be cool. Super neutral. That is all for this episode. I'm starting to lose my voice. I don't sound normal. I think it's all the talking I did today, but I'm like on my heating pad now, knitting the sleeve to the sweater. Actually, I have it here, and this is the progress I've made. Obviously, I need to make another. I know other people do this, but it's a super great tip if you're knitting sleeves. You can put stitch markers where you increase, and I like to save at the first stitch marker the exact number of increases I need to make to keep adding along the way, and then when I run out of stitch markers, I know I did all my increases. Of course, I always kind of double check myself throughout, but and then when I knit my second sleeve, I measure up to the stitch markers to gauge, like, is my gauge still correct? Did I really do the right number of rows? Whenever I doubt myself, I'll cross-reference the first sleeve, and I'll swap the stitch markers from the first sleeve to the second sleeve as I go. So I always carry both sleeves together, but it means that I have half as many stitch markers to remove at the end, because I've already kind of pre-removed them from the first sleeve, and I know I always have all my notions, so I'm never stuck without a stitch marker I'd like to place so that I can keep going. Another thing I do is I carry the progress keeper up as I go along the first stitch, so I don't keep a stitch marker on my needles, I just mark it on the fabric. Sometimes I'll use two progress keepers. One is an actual progress keeper to mark how much knitting I've done in that day or in that sitting, and then I might have a marker that I continue to move up so that I can see it in reference to my needles easier. Yeah, so this episode is getting pretty long. I might try to edit it down some more, but I did want to thank you all for joining me and watching this podcast episode, and have a great holiday. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you're well. Take care.